Hello everyone, Mike here. And if you're a comic fan, you are probably familiar with World's Finest. This, of course, is Batman and Superman. Well, I decided to talk about my own World's Finest team, who've actually rarely teamed up before. But they are my favorite member of the Batman family, Cassandra Cain, and my favorite member of the Superman family, Power Girl. Now, how did I get introduced to these two awesome heroes? Well, in Cassandra's case, I was just beginning to get into comics around the time of the Bruce Wayne murderer storyline. I tried to collect all the books for the story and thus got my hands on Batgirl number 24. Now, needless to say, I was quite surprised to find not Barbara Gordon, but this completely different girl in the Batgirl costume. Upon doing a little bit of research, I discovered just how amazing this new girl actually was. But we'll be getting into that as we go. As for Power Girl, I had gotten my hands on the DVD for the movie Batman Superman Public Enemies. It had several characters I wasn't familiar with at the time, but one that stood out, mostly due to how heavily featured she was in the movie, was Power Girl. Again, I researched the character and again became a fan pretty quickly. Now, in this first video I'm going to do in what I hope will be a series, I want to start by looking at the introduction of both of these characters into comics before we actually start talking about any of their specific stories. And since she was introduced first, let's start with Power Girl. Now, in 1976, DC wanted to have a strong female character to join the very male-heavy Justice Society. And with the All-Star Squadron coming together with a new team, it was the perfect opportunity for this new character to be brought in for All-Star Comics number 58. Now, although Jerry Conway's decision to make her the cousin of Superman didn't set well with Roy Thomas, who wanted to keep her more separate than Supergirl. Although, personally, I think making her an alternate version of Supergirl, but very different at the same time, really added a lot. Funny enough, Conway would never actually give her an official name, as he left the book only a few months after her debut. Her name, of course, being Kara Zor-El and Karen Starr. They were created by Paul Levitz 2 years after the character's introduction. Now, she was also involved in some controversy with Marvel. In 1964, Marvel had introduced Wonder Man into the comics. There are two stories about the problems this caused. The more well-known one is that DC complained because they had Wonder Woman. But there's also a potential issue of DC having already introduced a Wonder Man during an old Superman comic. But DC then brings in Power Girl shortly after the introduction of Luke Cage as Power Man. Though a lot of word about this is all hearsay by Stan Lee at a convention, and admittedly sometimes he mixes things up, and a lot of the things he said about this don't seem to fit with the narrative. So it's hard to say what actually happened in regards to Power Girl, Power Man, Wonder Woman. Although Marvel did do a what if book saying what if Power Man and Wonder Man were females, which I do feel was very much intentional. And of course, I suppose I can't avoid talking about Power Girl without mentioning the infamous boob window. Now, I blame Wally Wood for that. As a joke, with each issue he was drawing, he would just slightly increase her bust size, waiting to see if anyone would notice. Now, eventually they did, but I think that this has a lot to do with why so many people fixate so much on that. To the point where even the comics have tried to give an explanation for why her outfit looks the way it does. Though, to be honest, it wasn't a good one. what she says in the story is that she's trying to get an identity of her own. So she doesn't want the S on her chest like Superman has. Fair enough. But because she hasn't decided what she wants for her own logo, she just has that hole. But it really doesn't work because, well, if that's the case, why not just have it white all the way down? You don't have to have a hole just because you don't know what you want to put there. Now, of course, we all know the real reason that hole is there, but the storyline reason they tried to give really doesn't work. Now let's move on over 20 years into the future. In 1998, Kelly Puckett was given the job of creating a new Batgirl to star in her own solo series. He saw this as an opportunity to fix problems he'd had with Barbara Gordon, mostly her ability to fight as well as Batman and Robin, despite not having the same training that the two of them did. Thus, he created a girl raised to do nothing but fight, without even the ability to speak, and debuted her in Batman number 567. This also ended up leading to controversy since a lot of fans didn't like this brand new character becoming Batgirl, and others felt she was made too good of a fighter. The thing is, Kelly Puckett is pretty well known for not really liking comic book fans. It's one of the reasons he never goes to conventions. So he actually went even harder on it and was basically like, oh, well, I'm going to make her unbeatable even harder. So a year later, there would still be people complaining about her, mostly suggesting that she was only a fighter and nothing else. Now, for context, 1 year after her debut, we were seeing Batgirl number 4, which means she was just starting to become the focus. It's not that surprising that we hadn't learned much from her yet. She'd been mostly playing secondary roles in other books for other stories. I think we were getting one of those famous, we want to find problems with this character because we don't like them. But then maybe that's just me being bitter because I do like the character so much. But, so there we have it. A little look at where both characters came from and how I personally got introduced to them. So the next time I do one of these, we're going to look at their specific first appearances. But that will be next time. So that's all I've got on this one. So, until next time.